Hi, welcome back to the Jack and Glenn channel. I'm Jackie.
I'm my husband, Glenn.
He's my husband, Glenn.
Hey, before we get started, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell notification so you miss any of our reviews. Tonight we're reviewing Married at First Sight. It's still on. It's still on. So why it's still on? We're still gonna review it. So let's hop to it. Here we go. We won't start.
I mean, I just went through it like it happened.
Here we go.
So, first thing is we see Nicole and Chris preparing for their first wedding that they're going to as a couple. The other wedding they went to was their own. So they're going to New York. Her friend Lisa's getting married, and so they're preparing for that. And this will be their second time on a flight together. First as newly married at first sight, and this time as she says, people in love with each other. They really said they loved each other, not in love, but I mean, it's mincing words.
Yeah, tomato, tomato.
She says now she's going into this wedding prepared to dance with a tall person, because at their wedding she didn't know how to do it. Like, do I reach up? How do I move my arms? He was like, do I squat down? So she was like, she's good with
I
that.
agree with Chris. What she was doing with the slow dancing anyway. She was doing a robot type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, give it the program.
For her demonstration.
Yeah.
So then next we see Gina talking to her mom. Her mom is watching Hank while she goes on her world tour. And she jokingly says, oh, you don't want Clint to watch Hank? And her mom was like, no. This is my grandpup. I want my grandpup. And so...
yeah, just humanizing the animal. It's funny to me, but it seems like Hank has been with Clint a lot since they no longer together. It seemed that Gina liked it anyway. She had an instant babysitter or dog sitter when Clint was there. So, mom feeling jealous. Mom's jealous.
Who knows something? But Gina is going to do a wedding in Sedona, and then she's going to Canada to teach a class. And so she's like, basically, the trip to Sedona is a girls' trip. They made a girls' trip out of it. They're going to check out a little bit later, be able to go hiking and stuff like that. And she said the one thing that she learned from this experience is, she said it was a little bit of rehab for her from her being an alcoholic. So she's learned to give more self-care, get more work-life balance, and be present in the moment with her friends and people she enjoys spending time with. That's what she got from it. We'll find out later what Clint got from the whole experience. Yeah. So, I mean, that's good for her.
She's workaholic, right? Workaholic.
What'd I say?
Alcoholic.
I didn't think I did. I said workaholic.
Oh, I thought you said alcoholic.
I don't think so.
But workaholic, yeah, because she does work all the time. And that's what she did. Even we saw what was that scene? The scene that what shocked me in the scene was that she was always on her phone. And Clint, that was one of the biggest beef that Clint had, was that she was always on her phone. She was always doing something on her phone, and they could never really interact with each other. And you can see now what Clint was talking about, because during that whole scene, even though her friend was talking to it, Gina was literally in her phone.
Mm-hmm. So. Then we see Dominique and Clint, not on a date, but she brings her puppy because Clint has such a good time with Hank. It really's got him contemplating getting an animal. And so she was like, I'll bring Bo around so you can feel Bo out and see if you want to get a dog yourself. And she was like, I hadn't really had a whole lot of conversations with Clint, so this is a chance where I can, talk to him and get to know him. We find out later Gina and Max say the same thing. We really don't know much about each other, but let's have a little chit chat. But it's different for Gina and Mac.
Yeah, but it seemed like production's putting this together.
I don't know. But they talk about a little bit that Mac and Gina were going to be going on a date. She said she thinks it's kind of weird because Gina has her stuff together and everything, but she was like, kudos to them. Clint says, it could be something with them. I'm way different from Mac. I'm outlandish. He didn't use Gina's words, which were bizarre and secondhand embarrassment. But he was like, Mac is more reserved than him, so You know, he was like, I'll give him a gift card. Dominique was like, put my name on it.
But I like the way that he said it too. That Gina was always like to be the center of attention. He think he stole her shine when he came into it. That she was always the one people were looking at and always paying attention to. That when he came in it, she couldn't help that the spotlight was off of her, and that was something that was big. They're like, and when you say that, it might have been something that she said to him to make him think, hey, I really intimidated her because of my big personality. Maybe
that could have been what it was. They talk about, has Dominique been doing any dating? She says, I got back on a dating app. Hasn't had anything too crazy. But she actually was interested in hollering at Gil from the Houston season. You know, she was like, I seen him. He seems patient and kind and, understanding and considerate. He's got a good job. And he's not bad looking. And Clint was like, hey, slide in the DMs. And she was like, I don't know. What do I say? He was like, why don't you take a picture with the dog and introduce like that? But what she came up with was a nice little way to, reach out to, hey, I got married at first sight too. I was interested in talking to you, blah, blah, blah. But
we all know that, remember, if we watched the Houston season, Gil was in love with his dog also.
Yeah. Yes. So, I was going to say the funny part about that is when Dominique mentioned that Gil was on a previous season, Clint was like, I never watched it.
I never watched
the show.
Which made you think, like, why did you even go sign up if you never watched the show?
I think people do themselves a misservice if you don't watch the show. They need to do like, who did we talk to when it came for Ready to Love? They was like, they hadn't seen the show before. Yes. And so what he did was he watched the show before he went on it. Yeah.
But again, Clint, were you in a acting service? Did somebody reach out to you? Like, those are the questions that came up. Like, if you didn't watch the show, why go sign up? Who reached out to you and said, you know what, I think you should do this? Did a friend do it for you? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, why would you go audition, quote unquote, for something that you never seen?
I don't know, but he said he never seen the show. So the next thing we see, Jasmine and Kirsten going out. Jasmine's looking for an apartment. She said, I'm ready to move forward. She was like, she's looking at a new job, to start, new place, new husband. She's just ready for new. And, the one thing about it, she says she does miss their place together and the routine that she and Eris had established, but not so much Eris. Even though they have a good friendship or whatever, she just doesn't miss him like that.
There was no connection ever there. None. Mm-mm. He was a babysitter as well for Duchess.
Yeah.
And they were just roommates. I mean, it was what it is.
Yeah, we'll see that later. Kirsten did suggest to Jasmine that it might be best if instead of getting an apartment, why don't you just stay with your parents and save up some money and you get yourself a house. And Jasmine was like, to me, getting a house, that's more like I do that with my husband.
Kirsten always in there trying to get that percentage. Trying to sell everybody a house. She's like, look, I'm out there. Yeah, let me shoot my shot.
Yeah, Kirsten says, in a couple of years she plans to buy a house anyway, so she just kind of...
That $2 million house Shaq wanted?
I hope not.
That's what
No, Shaq didn't want it, she wanted it.
Oh, she wanted, sorry, $2 million house she wanted Shaq to buy? So...
Then they talk about, how's dating, anything going on the dating front. And Jasmine was like, well, I resumed a pause for somebody. It's a guy I knew from college. Mm-hmm. And so, we've reconnected and, want to see where things go. And she showed Kirsten a picture of the guy. She was like, oh, look at him. Oh, look at his hair, whatever. What does he do? He runs the district before and after school program. And, again, so this is somebody she knew from college. What she said was, unlike some of the other people, when she started the Married at First Sight process, Jasmine says, I cut people off because I was, doing the process. Right. And so, the way she said it, he wasn't somebody that she was talking to before the process. She knew him from further before that. Yeah. Kirsten, they start talking about, women asking men out on dates or whatever. And Kirsten was like, I appreciate the boldness of a woman that's going to say, hey, you need to take me out or whatever. And then the only other thing they talked about is, Kirsten says she's been focused on her self-care and career and, but she does want to factor dating back into her life. And Jasmine was like, I'm going to do it too. She said, one thing is, what this is, I've learned from this is, I'm not going to do no 4 and 5 years trying to figure out if you want to be with me. Like, no.
Is it me? Or it's just like, we heard Kirsten talk more in this little episode than we did all season of Married at First Sight. Like, it's like she didn't have a voice. I guess they didn't give her no scenes or whatever case may be. But she talked to me like, this girl actually can talk. She talked more than I ever heard her talk before in any of the episodes. Y'all let me know what you think. I just thought she was like, wow, she talking a lot.
The next few scenes, we just see Kirsten talking about how she's going to brunch with her friends and just kind of dealing with life after divorce. She bought herself some flowers. Again, she's focusing on self-care and enjoying her friends. And she didn't say this, but being present in the moment.
And decorate that apartment.
Yes.
If she ain't getting anything else from Shaq, she got the fact that she needed to clean up her closet and decorate her apartment.
We see Gina make it. She makes it to Sedona with her friends and everything, so they're doing that. Nicole and Chris go to the wedding in Long Island, New York, and we see them there all dressed up together. Later we see Eris meet up with Mac, and Eris was like, you know, I'm getting back to single life, and, you know, I see you got a head start, Mac, on the single life. Eris was like, he's not back out there dating, but he did send a text. We find out later he sent a "Hey Big Head" text, which Jasmine had jokingly said he probably sent those. And we know Eris and Clint. I'll jump to that real quick. But Eris and Clint have knocked the boots since decision day.
They couldn't wait. There was 2 guys who were sexual beings. They knocked the boots before decisions, before they even got like days before they found out it was on the show. And then they went all 2 months without knocking any boots because their wives wouldn't give them none, whatever the case may be.
They were starving.
They were starving, and within a matter of days after, you know, I think the producer asked Clint, was it somebody? He was like, nah, basically it was just a hookup. We're not even a date. We're not dating.
Just got the draw.
He was like, it was a real intimate and everything. He said
it was amazing.
It was amazing, yeah. He said it was amazing.
Connection and everything. So it's probably somebody he... No. Matter of fact, it is somebody he's messed with before he said that. But anyway, so with Eris and Mac, Mac tells Eris that he got a job in Michigan for a place that he's been consulting for. And they gave him an offer that he couldn't refuse. So, and he's the only thing is he had started renting a house in Tennessee. And so he's moving back to Michigan. Yeah. He hasn't told Gina about the move yet, but he's excited to go with her and hope that, you know, she's good with a long distance relationship.
Right, which means they're in a relationship.
No, he's saying, you know, hopefully when I tell her, when he goes out on a date with her, he tells her that, you know, she'll be willing to do it.
Not relationship. I mean, when these conversations happen, him and Gina are talking. Him and Gina are having conversations with each other about each other and the possibilities. So.
Okay, we get our own one and only glimpse of Shaquille, understandably. Shaquille talks about how he had to go back to Louisiana because his grandmother passed away. Yeah. He hasn't seen his grandmother since the wedding, which was 66 days prior. And, you know, it was unexpected. She passed away, but he's there to... you know, be with his family and everything. He said the good thing is, you know, he was like, basically, she's been a constant in his life, taught him so many things. One of the things in particular that jumped out to me is because I heard that he's a plant dad. And he says, you know, she was excited to see me get married. She was happy for us. She gave me some good advice. You know, she supported him. He said the last thing he told her was God had him and he was going to be okay. And so with that, he says, you know, it's hard, you know, it's a sad occasion, but we're taking it in stride. The one thing I will say ahead is Kirsten said, you know, she heard about Shaq's grandmother passing, and she still is concerned about his well-being and his family, so she did reach out to him and call him to extend her condolences and just check on him and his family. So I think that was nice.
Yeah, sometimes it's nice to be nice, though. It's nice to take care of people and look out for people.
Absolutely. We see Nicole and Chris going to the gym. This is her place. They have a little friendly competition. They do some cycling, some squats, some lifting weights, and
she's real competitive though.
yeah. And she says, if you didn't know, I'm a little bit of a brat when I lose.
We
saw
saw
you being bratty.
Especially when the golf situation.
We saw you being bratty. But you know, their thing is they want to make sure they can do things together, even if it's something outside of her comfort zone. So they want to do things that each other are interested in, and you know, kind of being each other's, not kind of being each other's lives in that.
Yeah,
way.
I think it's fun. You can see their relationship develop for the days that they've been there, for the 66 days, 67 days, or how long it's been at this point. You've seen their relationship develop. Mm-hmm. So at least they're working on it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Then we saw something. I was like, I don't know how this happened. I was like, it's kind of odd. But Eris goes with Clint, like, to the dock with some of his friends. 3 of his male friends and then a female friend. Yeah. Eris looked out of place. I'm sorry.
Production.
Eris looked very much out of place.
I mean, because I think they wanted to go fishing anyway. He went. They talked about the boats and stuff, so it's all good.
He looked out of place. He looked a little uncomfortable. But anyway, so the friends ask, you know, how y'all doing since you got divorced? How you with your exes? And Clint was like, you know, we're amicable. We just didn't had that spark when we was really good friends. And Eris was like, shoot, mine's probably even better than Clint's. You know, we was really cool, really good friends. And
yeah, let him tell it, because Jasmine was like, he be gone. I'm not gonna deal with him anymore. When she was with the girls.
Well, yeah, as far as him, you know, what she said is this. He's watching Duchess right now.
This will be the last time.
You know, so the thing is, Clint says, you know, they really wanted to be married. They just didn't have that spark. And Eris says the question that Clint's friend asked was, you know, how did you grow? You know, what changed since then? He said, you know, it did help me grow. He said, I was never the type, I never lived with someone before, and I wasn't basically confrontational. I didn't like dealing with the hard issues. So when you live with somebody and they're right there in your face, you gotta deal with it.
True.
He said usually he would run away, he would walk away. He would like ghost them for a couple of days. Yeah. Wouldn't talk about it. So that's something that he didn't do.
Running the track star.
Mm-hmm. Clint said, you know, I did a lot of stretching. And his friend jokes and said, what, you did yoga? You know, he said mental stretching.
Yeah.
Mental stretching, increasing his mental capacity. And the one thing that he realized, you know, I'm going to be a little bit choosier. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm going to find out who a person is. You know, when I approach him in the bar, I'll ask him blah, blah. And Eris was like, I don't think that's the right place to have like a serious conversation.
In the bar, though. I agree with Eris. When you pick somebody in the bar and y'all halfway through, both y'all have a drunk, serious conversation, nah, not at all.
Yeah, but Clint's thing is, I'm just gonna, what I learned from this is I'm gonna do more interrogating, finding out who a person is, and not just getting focused on the physical, which I think is funny, considering
both of them smashing already.
Soon after D-Day, you went and got you some draws.
They both like the physical. They like to smash. Mm-hmm. They're smashers.
He said, you know, what he realized is that he and Gina just had different lifestyles. They did have similarities. Both drove Toyotas. They both lived in the same place, in the same building. They both liked steak. He was like, but that's not enough to build a marriage on. You know,
both love Hank.
Nothing ever formulated. He said, you know, marriage takes work. And you know, this is something I was thinking about. When people like to say marriage is hard, I would rather replace it with marriage takes work. It's not hard. It just takes effort.
It takes a lot of effort.
It takes effort.
It does.
So,
and you gotta be willing to put it. You gotta be willing to put in the effort too.
Yeah, like Pastor Cal said, marriage is not for punks.
It's not for punks. You gotta put in work. You gotta put in work. I think Michelle Obama said there's some days that you like that person. There's some days that you don't like the person, but you still love them and you still respect them.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. You should. But, you know, being married was 22 years. There's some days she don't like me. I know. And there's some days that I always love her. We'll just keep it there.
Well, hey, you can't relate to two. You said some days I don't like you, but I always love her.
Dog, I'm not gonna say.
I always love you too. Just don't like you sometimes.
I won't say I don't like you sometimes. But I don't like you sometimes.
Okay, tell the truth.
Oh, I tell the truth. But I love you, though.
Tell the truth.
Love you.
You're on my nerves.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
Then we see Nicole and Chris going to play baseball. It's because baseball's played a big role in his life. He's played it growing up. He's got a passion for it, likes to go watch baseball. And so he wants her to get into baseball. He's trying to show her how to play. And while they do that, they talk about considering taking a trip to Chicago to see his family after they get all moved in. So we know they're in a place together.
Right.
After they get all moved in. And then she talks about going to see her family in Florida. And come to find out, her dad's got some chickens. And he's named the chickens after Nicole and Chris. But he's also named them after some of the other participants on the show.
Yeah. Dad didn't have it. Look, he having a good life. He having his best life. Living his best life. He got a lot of free time.
So funny. But they're excited to move and, move all in together. The one thing that we see with them is Nicole got some spending habits that Chris don't care too much for.
Yeah.
Bless you. Like she was like, I saw this huge magnifying glass, and I was like, we're gonna buy it. And she was like, it's not for nothing, just to sit on the table. He was like, no. Because later on when they go to the furniture store, they're looking at stuff. And, oh, I want this 2-seat. You know how like a 2-person seat. I want to buy this. And then she saw this gold seat.
Like 1900, right?
And, yeah, and she wants to get that. And so he has a whole conversation with her. How much would you spend on a, because one of the pieces of furniture was like $8,000. And he was like, how much would you spend on a piece of furniture? She was like, well, it depends on if I can see if it lasts a while, if I could put it to good use. Usually, and in his vignette, Chris was like, bro, my couch was $300.
Yeah, he needs to get that under the wraps now. They need to sit down and formulate a budget and how to manage money. Because, well, I'm not going to put that out there. You know, learn how to manage money. Just research Nicole.
Yeah, he said they're going to have to figure that out because they got very different spending habits.
Yeah.
We see Jasmine go out on a date with her, she calls him friend boy.
Friend boy. It was weird to me. I'm like, are you 6? Well, she kept saying it. Even when she was with all the girls, I'm like, friend boy? I'm like, are we 6? Can you just say?
No, she's not 6, but she said... Well, she didn't say it, but they're obviously not at the place where she would call him her boyfriend.
Just call him a friend. Just call him a friend. Like grandma do. Girl, that's your friend?
That's your little friend?
That's your little friend? Boy.
You going out with your little friend?
You going out with your friend? Just call him, but the whole girlfriend, I mean friend boy, the friend boy situation, that to me is stupid.
But she said she's excited to start a new chapter and get back in the streets. It's her first date since decision day. She was like, we have good conversation and chemistry. And, but she said the one thing about it, it's going to be a while before she introduces him to the world. And how do we know that? They did not show homeboy's face.
Nah, homeboy got the back of his neck. And
that side, the heavily tapered side of his haircut.
And some of y'all thought it was Keith. It's not Keith Manley.
Why would it be Keith Manley? Bro, I don't care what you say.
A lot of people thought it was
Let me side note. Keith Manley cannot go from Ari Lennox
back to Jasmine.
To Jasmine on Married at First Sight. Just can't. And which is a side note, I was like,
are they still together?
No! Oh. Like soon as we found, I looked it up. When you said that, I looked it up. And like as soon as we found out they was dating, they broke up.
Oh, okay.
So there you have it. But anyway, it's definitely not Keith. Because I'm not saying Jasmine is down from Ari Lennox, but you go for a recording artist to just another Married at First Sight contestant. I don't think so. And then,
I think Keith would be on TV.
Keith is Hasididi.
Yeah, he would have been on TV. He wouldn't have no problem.
But anyway, so it's her friend boy. She says, you know, we always been cool, but you know, he makes me feel more secure, and I've always felt like a bad bee, but he makes me feel like even more of a bad bee. So.
And he attracted to her. That was the whole. Are you attracted to me?
Go ahead, Jasmine. I'm not mad at you. We see Kirsten. Did they ever? She introduced the lady like her name, but she didn't say who she was. Was it a life coach?
I guess so.
They never actually said what she was, but I came to the conclusion like she's something like a life coach. But she sits down and talks to her, you know, about her career and, you know, everything that she wants to do. Okay, so it's a relationship in there. She was like, because I can work with you to get all that together, you know, to work on your communication skills and your expectations, because Kirsten said that's what she needed to work on, and they was like, we can do all that because that applies to your relationships as well as your career.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
At least she's getting help.
Uh-huh.
That's all I can say about that. She's getting help, so she knew.
Then, I don't know why I just wrote that, but I said, different, the other girl's name. So Clint goes out on a date with a girl, and she's Nicole. When I wrote down, I was like, he go on a date with Nicole. That don't make no sense. But her name is Nicole.
Yeah.
And she's a redhead, like a blondish kind of redhead, which is funny because one of the things that she said was like a deal breaker for her was redhead.
Redheads. Like who calls?
She's a redhead. And he was like, because I've been out on other people that are redheads,
who
and they be like, are y'all related to each other? He said a friend of his set him up on a blind date. And he was like, you know, hey, I don't have no problem with a blind date. I got married at first sight.
I must have missed that part. Must be when I nodded off.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay. I nodded off. I can say a lot of y'all.
In which time?
It was a couple times.
No, I'm saying which time? The first time when you said you had already watched it, or the second time?
I think I nodded off that part both times, to be honest with you.
You definitely were asleep the second time.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but see, yeah, so I seen this before. I could just go to sleep.
Yeah.
But you didn't see that part. But anyway.
Well, some of y'all ain't see that part neither, because y'all was asleep too. Anyway.
He shares that you know, that he got married at first sight. You know, they just didn't have any attraction to each other, but all the other components were there. She shared that she's divorced, and you know, she knows what she's looking for and what she wants and how she's intentional with, you know, dating someone. For her, she's looking for integrity, open communication without judgment. And like I said, her deal breaker is redheads. And Clint was like, what the H?
Yeah, what you gotta do with red?
It's a hair color, not a person. Correct. Stop treating redhead like it's a person. It's a hair color. Let's just make it like that. And like I said, she said she went out on a date with somebody that was redheaded, and they was like, are y'all related to each other?
Why?
Just because you're redheaded?
Yeah, that's weird. That's weird. But they're natural, so what can I say?
Mac and Gina go out for their little date.
I was up for this.
This is a meetup between her Sedona trip and her going to Canada. Yeah. He shares with her he had been back in Flint, Michigan. But he don't let the whole cat out the bag.
No, not yet.
He said he'd been back in Flint, Michigan, and you know, they shared, like we said before, they don't really know much about each other, but they, you know, want to get to talk. He says he's intrigued by Gina. He did have some hesitation when it came to the date, but you know, they're gonna go ahead with that.
I like what she said. I was intrigued with you too. I noticed.
Well, she said this is what she told, which I think is so funny. She said, you know, that he looks nice, got a little swag, and you know, they jokingly was like, oh, Clint ain't had no swag yet. No. She said he ain't had no swag.
I thought Clint's swag was a little bit better than Clint's. Better than Mac's swag.
I'm saying.
I thought Clint had a little more swag.
That's why I was like, what? I get no swag from Mac unless you're talking about the way he's dressed, but I still am like,
Well,
I don't know what Gina's looking for. I'm with Talisa.
a Mac?
I'm with Talisa.
Why? He's scruffy?
No, it's more scruffy, Dusty.
Dusty.
He's dusty to me. But anyway, so they go to a latte art class. They making lattes or whatever. They talk about all Mac's entrepreneurial adventures. He's owned a contracted company. He's done lawn care. He started doing had a weed growing company, right? And he was doing woodworking, and then he says he's been in the cannabis industry for 12 years. He just turned 34. Oh my gosh, I'm older than you by a year.
By a year.
She's a year older than him. She's 35. Like they're almost exactly a year.
And Mac's been on TV. If y'all go research it on his contracting stuff and TV stuff. So he's been on TV before.
Oh, okay.
Doing contracting shows.
The one trip party, she said that she noticed him at the airport when everybody was going on the honeymoon. Like he caught her eye.
Right. The first time they could meet, the night after the night after she gets married or whenever they meet, you know, she's like, ooh, who's this guy? Really?
Because she wasn't looking at Clint.
Which, that's what I'm saying. It goes to my point. On the honeymoon, you wasn't looking at Clint, but you made it seem like as if it was all about the slender and athletic comment, and yet you checking somebody else out.
Mm-hmm.
So some of you guys were right. She never liked Clint in the first place.
Right. You know, he was like, I wasn't as attracted to Dominique as I was you. So she caught Mac's eye too.
And we know that because you go back, Mac made all the comments about Gina.
Absolutely.
All the comments about Gina.
You know, Gina was like, you know, I'm kind of surprised that, you know, I understand when things don't work out, but like y'all didn't even go through the process. And Max said he was surprised he didn't go through the process like he wanted to, but she just didn't want to. And, you know, then he mentions, okay, not only did I go to Flint, Michigan, but I'm moving back to Flint, Michigan.
Yeah.
When? In like tomorrow.
Tomorrow, right? A couple days.
Like I'm packing right now. I'm leaving tomorrow.
Ain't much to pack.
I'm leaving tomorrow.
I'm just saying.
And she was like, you know, she said she wants to continue talking to him. She's not opposed to doing the long distance thing.
She likes the long distance thing.
So we'll see.
I mean, she's been in a long distance relationship, so she's done it before and she doesn't mind.
Then we see Nicole, Jasmine, Kirsten, and Dominique go flower picking.
I just had a joke. If it wasn't for the experts, she would have done a long distance relationship with Clint because she didn't want to move his apartment.
Right. She shares that Jasmine shares that she's been on a date with her friend boy, and then she's got a new apartment. Dominique tells them that she FaceTimed Gil from Houston. You know, they're excited for her. The one thing Nicole was like, I think it's interesting that Dominique was concerned about Mac not having roots in Tennessee and how he could possibly go to Michigan, but you on purpose reach out to someone who's not in the same place as you.
Yeah. Did anybody else pick it up? I think Dominic really wanted a brother. I really think Dominique was kind of taken back from the...
But she wanted someone with more melanin.
More melanin.
We could call Gil a brother. What was he? Dominican?
Dominican, I think.
Dominican, I don't know. She wants
somebody with more
melanin.
melanin. Yeah, she wants somebody with more melanin.
She wants some more melanin. Kirsten was like, do you think our husbands are doing dating? I would think it's interesting if Shaquille's dating somebody because if he got time for somebody else, he ain't had no time for me.
Just throwing shade. Like I told you, she talked too much. She talked more than ever. It's like I thought about something else. Oh, you do have a voice. It's a long story. You do have a voice. We
ain't got time to share that.
We ain't got time to share that. It's a long story.
Then we see the guys met up except for Shaquille because they shared that Shaquille's in Louisiana because his grandmother passed. But Eris has borrowed Duchess for the day. Clint's got Hank. And Chris and Mac meet up and they was like, hey, you missed the memo about the dogs? And they was like, we didn't know. And that's when Jasmine to the girls was like, he got Duchess today, but that's it. It's a one-time thing. It ain't gonna happen much.
No.
Like, we could be cool, but you ain't gonna keep taking Duchess.
You take my dog.
You're not gonna get her all wrapped up and caught up in her feelings with you and then walk away. She was like, I'm not gonna do that. No, she didn't say all that. But that's how she said it.
That's how she said it. Like, you got me caught up and then you walked away. So, the auntie told him, let that dude go. Well, I say Negro, but let that dude go.
Yeah, so, but they got the dogs. Chris asked, have you been on some dates? And Clint was like, yeah, it's nice to get back out there. And like we said, Clint says he's had sex since decision day. He said it was amazing. After 2 months of having none. You know, it was hard for him not to get any for 2 months. Eris, same thing. You know, he was like, I didn't wait too long either.
It was for the streets.
Yeah. His was a new person. It was a hey big head thing, which Jasmine jokingly was like, I know he sent some hey big head text. And for Clint, it wasn't someone that he didn't know. Somebody he already knew.
Yeah. They're
not dating. It's just sex.
That's weird. I guess that's what people do.
Yeah.
So.
They do. While they were there, the girls called Gina just to let her know that they miss her. At this point, she's in Canada. Nicole asked, did she go on a date with Mac? And she said, yeah, they went and made lattes. And she shares that Mac said that he was moving to Michigan. And
Dominique was like... Psst.
It's like that. It was like that TikTok sound. Oh, no. I'm so disappointed. Right. She was like, oh, wow. Mac's moving back to Michigan. Who'd have thunk it?
And my intuition was right. Listen to your intuition.
And he, on the flip side, talked to the guys like, I know Dominique is like, well, of course he's moving back to Michigan. I knew it.
And here's Chris being the optimist. We know you just moving back because the marriage thing didn't work out. If the marriage thing had worked out, you would have stayed in Tennessee, right? And here's Matt. Yep, that would have worked out. Yeah, sure. Something had that girl believing that you was going to move back to Michigan. I'm sorry.
The only other thing that we see is while the girls are chatting, Kirsten was like, you know, the one thing to get me some closures, I would like to talk to Shaquille and ask him, like, why was you crying? She was like, girl, he was crying. You the one saying no. Like, I want to know why you said no, why you was all freaking choked up about it. Like, I got questions. And I need answers. And Nicole was like, I would too. And you know what? Me too. I would ask questions too. Especially with the crowd. I'm like, now.
He's sensitive. And that's wrong being connected to his feelings. He was hurt. He didn't want to hurt her feelings. I'm just saying, I don't know. But we get to know, we'll get to find out the next couple episodes. Really?
Yeah, we got another one of those episodes. And then we'll have the reunion after that. I would have rather had the reunion than those.
If you're going to...
But, I mean,
this
if
is
you do
my
it
thing,
in
Married
order.
at First Sight. If you're going to cut the shows to an hour and 30 minutes, please don't extend the season. Just put the 30 minutes back on the show, make it 2 hours. Right? Just put the 30 minutes back on the show, make it 2 hours, call it a day. We are out of here. We are ending on June 28th, and then you're going to start a new season like the beginning of July.
So what's in between? Okay, you said, wait.
It's like a little special in between.
I can do if I...
It's a special in between the reunions.
Yeah, we probably won't talk about
Yeah, probably won't talk about it. I ain't gonna say a lot. I probably won't talk about that. Unless something really juicy.
You almost didn't get this.
Unless Juicy didn't have it. Oh, she's right. But anyway, we thank y'all for watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell notification. And we'll talk to you guys a little bit later. Appreciate you. And we're still going to be rocking with this season of Married at First Sight until it ends.
Rocking till the wheels fall off. Because that's what they're doing. They're going to ride. They're riding it to the wheels fall off.
They milking it. And so we'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.